go to Kwale County, where our senior reporter John Juma is there for the governance conference. John Juma will be telling us who are the main participants in that conference and some of the key issues that are going to be discussed there this afternoon. John Juma.
Thank you, Najma. We are coming to you from Kwale County, specifically Leisure Lodge, where we are having Africa Governance and Leadership Convention, this being the 5th edition. In this kind of convention, matters to do with governance in Africa, leadership in Africa, challenges, how do we move forward as a continent? These are among issues being discussed today. And to join us, explain more issues is a patron, His Excellency Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, who is the patron of this convention. Thank you, Your Excellency, for joining us. Kindly tell us, what are the key issues being discussed in this 5th edition?
Well, as you have rightly said, this is the 5th edition. In the previous ones, we have had things like Africa for Africa. We have had conditions for private sector to thrive in Africa and all that. But this 5th session, the theme is the private sector in Africa and the emerging global security challenges and concern. We have all agreed, I think, after the fall of the Berlin Wall, it was clear to everybody that, well, the issue of market and the role of private sector is no longer arguable. The economy must be driven by the private sector. The private sector must be in the driver's seat. But then there are certain conditions that must be prevalent. And one of the conditions that we are discussing today is the condition of security. Security and development are great bedfellows. If you have no security, you cannot talk of development, and particularly where the private sector is concerned. But when we talk of security, the government has its role to play, so governance. The private sector has its role to play, management and leadership. Even the civil society has a role to play. So it is a place where, or it's an issue in which all of us have to contribute, because we are all also beneficiaries of security.
As a continent, have we played our roles effectively in combating this kind of situation you're saying is a threat to even private investment?
Well, we have been trying, but trying is not good enough. We must succeed. During the independence, some countries have to fight for self-determination. It causes some insecurity. Immediately after that, in the Cold War exacerbated division and contradiction in Africa, and it led to another conflict. But now we have national or domestic based and international engineered terrorism, which is a new phenomenon, and we have to deal with it.
Africa is faced with a myriad of challenges. Leave alone even matters to do with global terrorism. I see you're also discussing matters to do with health challenges. Just a few months ago, we know what happened in West Africa, the issue of Ebola. How is Africa ready to combat some of these health challenges?
Well, it's Ebola was an eye-opener for all of us, because where Ebola had taken place in the past, it has been in the villages in the remote areas. So it was possible to quickly deal with it. Now this was the first time that Ebola we will have outbreak of Ebola in big cities, in Freetown, in Monrovia, and it's a new challenge. But we have learned a lot of lessons from it, and I believe that for next time we will be more ready to deal with it. In fact, this time around, Nigeria dealt with it more promptly. Senegal too did the same, and that's why those two countries, even though they had carrier of Ebola to their country, but it did not spread. Now the lesson that we have learned in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, and in Guinea-Conakry will stand us all in good stead.
Mr. President, it boils down to leadership. Tell us about leadership, because not only health, not only global terrorism, the kind of leadership in Africa, is it the type that attracts investors?
Well, leadership in Africa is evolving. If you go back 50 years when we attained independence, the quantum of leadership, the quality of leadership to manage and man our national institutions were inadequate. But in the last 50 years, we have seen development, we have seen leadership that has emerged in all walks of life: political, business, private sector, diplomatic. So what do we have to do is to make sure that the quality that we have, it's really being utilized, not being squandered, and then we are building on what we have on the ground. And it's no question of a leader coming today and feeling that everything that has happened before must be thrown away. We must be cumulatively building, and I think we are getting there. Okay. We are getting there.
In your earlier session, you also spoke of clinging onto power and how this is a threat to private investors.
It's not only to private investors, it's a threat to development generally. Well, in any society, leadership must continue to evolve. Leadership must continue to be built up. I believe that the issue should not be the permanency of individual, because one thing that is certain in life is change, and we should induce that change so that the transition is smooth and it continues to evolve and to make us move from one height and one level to another.
Mr. President, my last question to you is related to matters terrorism. In East Africa, we have the issue of Al-Shabaab. In Nigeria, we have the Boko Haram. Don't you think that it has taken us so long, and yet they continue to cause harm to innocent civilians?
Yeah.
What do we need to do?
Now, when you have issue of insurgency, they don't go away easily. I was in Colombia in June last year, and May last year, their own insurgent organization FARC celebrated 50th anniversary of their existence, and they have only been reduced from 25,000 to 10,000 over a period of 50 years. So that's how long it takes, but they are moving. we must be able to move. I believe what is first of all important is to know why. Now, when we know why, we need to get upper hand militarily over insurgency. And then the socio-economic issues that also make room for insurgency should be dealt with in such a way that at the end of the day there will be no cause for insurgency. Is it political dissatisfaction or perceived injustice in political terms, in economic terms, in social terms? Now these are the things on which insurgency feeds, and we have to remove them.
Thank you very much, retired President of Nigeria, yes, Excellency Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, just taking us through matters being discussed in this 5th edition of Africa Governance and Leadership being held at Leisure Lodge in Kwale County. The convention began yesterday. It will end tomorrow. Among those who are attending include the Governor of Kisumu, the hosting Governor Salim Vuria, members from private sector, experts in different fields. Thank you very much, Najma. We'll get back to you in our subsequent bulletins.